allowing us on the agenda, and we'd be glad to answer any questions or engage in any discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilors, questions? Have one? You're leaning towards the mic.
Well, I guess if we take them in order, I completely don't understand why the date would have to change. We have to have time for recount before any vote can be considered official. And what does leaving at June 1st, why is that not viable in this?
Well, Carol might be able to fill this in on the recount issue. In talking to the town attorney, even if the council's warrant article passed and was scheduled to abolish the commission on June 1st, on May 10th, there would be a police commission under 412. Therefore, we could not vote to create another police commission under 105. So one has to go for the other to come in. Now, speaking to Carol, she said to me that if you decided to adopt these warrants, the recount issue could be worked out. I didn't get into detail with her. I wasn't aware of the recount issue until she mentioned it.
Based on that, the recount, the date that's more viable is the June 1st date, because nothing could really happen if someone had a recount and requested it. So that's why the June 1st date was there initially anyway.
So are you saying that if we then made warrant article 2 effective on June 1st, that would work? Because you would have time to recount and then it would take place?
You wouldn't, you'd have to in effect leave the current warrant article as it is with the date. Then if you wanted the others, if the council put those on, they would fall in place.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Pearl?
Just a
Mr. Lozano?
clarification, please.
Yeah.
David and Todd, if all three of these warrant articles proposals go on and the town votes not to do away with the commission, but then votes to have the police chief elected, is that possible?
My understanding, and speaking with the town attorney, would be no, because you would still be governed under 412, and 412 clearly states that the commission shall appoint the chief. If we were to go to 105, 105 is a very broad law. It allows for a warrant to come up and change from appointed to elected, but 412 doesn't. We have to remember, 412 was written specifically for Hooksett back in 1975. It would have been my, looking back, that, sometime along the line, we should probably have adopted 105 and got rid of 412, because 105 has provisions for a lot of different issues that may come up, but 412 really doesn't. So to answer your question, it's my understanding that if 412 stands, there cannot be an elected chief position.
Any other questions? Council.
Mr. Pearl referred to talking to the town attorney. When public citizens talk to the town attorney, who puts the bill?
The question came in my discussion with the town attorney pertaining to some items. In lieu of having, there was confusion by what he was actually looking to do. So to get a final answer, when I spoke to the attorney, he said, I will call him and let him know. So that's We clearly, citizens can't contact the town
Okay.
attorney.
Thank you.
He did indicate, which on these proposals, that you could not change it. It requires a charter amendment if you wanted an elected police chief. So that's what our legal counsel advised.
Well, just to clarify one thing, when I appeared before this council the last time, I was making a statement that a petition could be brought by 25 citizens to put a warrant article on to abolish the commission. That was information that I had received that was incorrect. And that was, I think, part of Carol's contacting me with the attorney so that we could clarify what the legal rights for petition were. Because my original idea was to bring this via warrant article petition. But through talking to him, that is not an option. A warrant article petition can only be a budgetary item. And this is clearly not a budgetary item. So that's why we're appearing before you and asking you. The town council, as we said in one of the slides, the town council is the only ones that could put this warrant article on. It doesn't matter if you got the whole town to sign a petition, it doesn't go on the warrant.
Council.
I think putting these other two warrant articles on is gonna confuse the voters. I mean, we're either gonna keep the police commission, or we're gonna abolish the police commission and put the police department under the town administrator like the other departments. And, you know, the explanation on that, for that warrant article is explained, and let the people make a decision.
Council.
That brings up an interesting point. The police chief is not like, you know, you put her on probation or something, but I don't think that the police chief, under just cause, but there's nothing you can do to him without having some type of cause. Unlike maybe if Diane's budget went bad, or she made a couple of bad decisions, you could probably bring her forth and speak with her and maybe put her on probation or something. But I don't think that the police chief, under just cause, can be put on some type of probation. I think it's either he has all that protection and you can't, he has a wall of protection and you can't penetrate. Even by anything you want to do. I don't think, that's just my opinion.
There's fairly similar restrictions with fire chiefs. So in talking with legal counsel, it's not that different than what you could do with a fire
I don't know if a fire chief, maybe David, Dan could tell me, a fire chief doesn't have the same protection as a police chief.
I'm just indicating
I'm
what
not sure about that.
our legal counsel advised, that
Okay.
they're very similar, so I didn't pursue that.
I'll take your word for
I
it.
wasn't exploring the fire chief at the time, and they advised that there's similar stipulations, if you will, so.
If I may add one thing, I'm taking an example from, for instance, Carol's job. The council hires Carol with a contract. If Carol does not perform the way this council wants or lead this town in the direction that she wants, you don't have to fire her. You can simply not renew her contract at the term that comes up. Our superintendent of schools is hired the same way. If people are feeling that we are not being progressive enough or taking the right steps, it's not a matter of firing, it's a matter of not renewing that person's contract. The police chief is totally immune from anything like that. The fact that you need cause to remove him says it right there. And the fact that he gets an automatic hearing in Superior Court, which you have to defend, I would argue, makes people very hesitant to ever take that move, because they know they're going to face the Superior Court. An election allows the people, if they disagree with the direction of the department, say you think there should be more citizen programs, more, I don't know, West Side Car, whatever your issue is, you could choose to elect a different person that shared your views that you might think would lead the town in that direction. And that's why I think without a contract, because personally, I would pick a contract over an election. If you folks or the police commission could sit down and drop a contract, I'd be fine with that. But you can't. The only people that can are the citizens via an election. And this was 205, 2A was challenged in the legislature, I think in 2006, it failed. So 105, 2A, protecting the chief, is likely to stay. I don't think it's gonna go away. So I see us in a stalemate at this point unless we move, and I'm not asking you to support an election of the chief. I'm asking you to let the citizens decide, because that's what I heard from this council about the abolishment issue, that it would be up to the citizens to decide. In this case, though, you're the only ones that can make that decision available to the citizens. We were going to make that effort, but the law prohibits us from doing that, so we can't make that effort.
I'd like to add, though, on Councilman Levesque's point in regards to the clarity of the current warrant. My belief is that warrant is not clear at all. This council made a preamble basically saying it wasn't about the commission, it wasn't about the job that they were doing, or any type of performance indicator. Those who defended against it made clear and concise statements about why they believe it was not necessary or why it should be placed off for a year. Those who voted for it did not give anything that would, other than Mr. Lembo, who talked about maybe they weren't doing enough. Other than that, that was the only thing that was placed on the table. So as a voter going into that, the question is, why am I voting to abolish the commission? If anyone can explain to a voter, you're making a decision because we're allowing you to make a decision because we think you should make that decision. The question is, why? If I read the minutes and it says it's not about their performance, it's not about the job that they're doing, it's not anything, why am I voting for it? I think there is no clarity in that warrant. But I think by placing these two warrants in conjunction with it, what you're saying is, we're looking at a referendum for the town to say, here's your options. Here it goes. You can go a little way, all the way, or sit in the middle. Our belief, 105C offers a lot of opportunities because as Mr. Pearl has indicated, it gives you the option to also remove the commission, add a commission, or elect a chief or appoint a chief. And it also is has a lot more oversight features to it than does 412.
I would also add that I think the warrant is lacking in clarity because I think the perception of people will be that if the chief comes under the town government and Carol's administration, that somehow she is going to gain some type of power, or for those that feel there should be more oversight, that somehow she can exert that. But I would, not talking to her abilities, but 105-2A is still there. It's still there, it doesn't matter, and it will still be there if he's elected, because it's not going to go away. So my problem is, I think with most anybody, I don't want to use the word threat, but the idea that your job may end is sometimes a performance enhancer, because we think about that. We think about that we need to perform at a certain level to continue with our job. I would argue that here, that does not apply. Unless the person is willing to basically break the law, they will remain. And I think that needs to be adjusted.